G'day guys and gal. As much as I do try to steer clear of drama and anything non-law related these days, as it usually bites me in the ass, I've always believed it's important to defend yourself and your reputation, especially when people are lying about things or deliberately or accidentally misinforming large amounts of people about you. A bad reputation on YouTube means less views, less subscribers, and eventually an unviable channel, which obviously not idealio. I hope I have shown myself as someone who can take accountability for my mistakes. I've always believed you should be judged by how you deal with your mistakes, not by the mistakes themselves. If you mess up, take accountability, apologize, try to make things right and learn, I think that's what you should be judged for. Obviously there are exceptions, like if you're a fucking pedo, you should be judged for being a pedo, even if you say sorry. About a week ago, I noticed I lost like 100 subs and I was like, that's odd. And then just went about my day. But then I came across a video that seemed to be blowing up, created by a small channel I hadn't heard of called the Pontius, which says Warhammer 40k YouTubers are a disgrace, with my logo being the largest on the thumbnail. So obviously I had a look and yep, here we go again. Look, all I'll say is I didn't start at this time. So I thought it'd be fun and educational for both the Pontius, myself, and you guys to go through what he has to say, pointing out where he's just full of shit, where I could potentially do better, and the issue with his overall elitist attitude, and how he is just straight up missing the bigger picture. Should be fun, get your popcorn out. Now let's get into it. Now the video is long as shit, about 2 hours, and he basically has a stab at almost everyone, even beloved very uncontroversial YouTubers such as Arbiter Ian. Now I'm gonna let those guys fight their own battles, as I would rather bear trap my own balls than listen to his entire video, especially since as the dude has a thick Italian accent, it's nearly impossible to understand at 2 times speed, so we'll just focus on my parts, and I'll only really be focusing on the interesting points or misinformations. Heads up, this guy is one very angry Italian.
Now we move to Majorkill. My opinion on Majorkill when it comes to the lore has not changed. He's not even a clown, he's the entire fucking circus. Keep in mind, I despise Majorkill personally, not only as a lore YouTuber.
So old mate starts off by declaring he has a personal issue with me that goes just beyond my content. That is obviously a big red flag, as it means he will be personally biased against me, cherry picking information that reinforces his view, disregarding or downgrading information that conflicts with it, and you're about to see a lot of examples of this.
The guy has backstabbed Arch Warhammer. Much of the success of Majorkill is owed to Arch Warhammer. Backstabbing the guy that made you famous makes you a very shitty person to begin with.
His first point is that he says that Arch made me famous, and I backstabbed him for clicks or views or whatever. I have actually addressed this before a few times, but I guess it's time to talk about it again because Pontius can't be bothered fact-checking himself. As I said, personal bias and whatnot. When people bring up this point, it's referring to a podcast me and Arch filmed in 2018, so like 7 years ago. The podcast was shit, there was no chemistry, and the video got like sub 10,000 views or whatever. You can't even find it on YouTube anymore. Me and Arch then never again spoke after that. If that video was the one that made me famous, then why was it only in 2020, 2 years later, that my channel actually blew up? I got absolutely 0 subscribers or views spike from that podcast, and my channel only exploded after a few more years of solo grinding, and then when I quit my full-time job to do YouTube full-time. This is a lie people love to spin all the time to attack me, that could be fact-checked within like 2 minutes, but as I said, it doesn't suit his bias. Then the video I made about Arch happened over 3 years after this podcast and 3 years after I last spoke to him, so people framing it like Arch was my mentor who gave me success only for me to backstab him are just so off the mark. Now, is my video about Arch flawless? No, not really. There's probably things I could have tightened up and other points I could have made or removed, but I still agree with the sentiment, so I've left it up. You can watch it and be your own judge if you'd like. I'll link it below. So yeah, his first point about Arch is just a straight up lie. Now to the next one.
The constant shilling of porn on his Patreon and even the recent shilling of peptides to his audience of children doesn't make me like him either. It is a very shitty thing to do when you make videos that are open to be watched by children. We make jokes about it at best, but we will never dare to sponsor 18+ content on videos watched by children, Majorkill.
A big thing people love to raise with me is that Majorkill shills porn to kids or he's a bad person because he makes fucked up jokes knowing how young and impressionable his audience is. Once again, I've already spoken about this, but Pontius doesn't do his due diligence, so I'll just go over it again. Less than 4% of my audience is under the age of 18. Less than 4%. If you break that down further and let's say that a kid is anyone under 14 or under, it would be closer to 1 to 2%. I know Pontius probably feels really self-righteous saying that I'm selling porn to kids, but if 98 to 99% of my audience are not children, then it's just clear misinformation. Maybe he looks at his own analytics and sees it's full of kids because I doubt many serious adults watch his sort of trash, and then from that he just makes his assumptions. But to me, he's just once again making shit up for dramatic effect. Bit of a hypocrite claiming he checks his sources and makes sure he has all the facts, and then raging at other people who he believe hasn't, and then goes ahead with lies and misinterpretations. Also, my Patreon is 18 plus only and paywalled. Sure, that's not bulletproof, but if a kid wants to see some boobs, he's gonna see some boobs. It's called the fucking internet. Now, something I do find a bit of a pain in the ass is that whenever someone likes to criticize my content and channel, they almost always use very old videos to do so.
Other than being grossly inaccurate on the lore, having more than one occasion made us uncomfortable because of too sexual jokes or even jokes about diseases.
Almost every video Pontius shows off and shits on is 3 or 4 years old. Even the Arch thing is like 4 years old, which makes it funny that suddenly Arch and his buddies are having a cry about it now. I'm gonna take that as a compliment, with that kind of criticism implying that my newer content is fucking great and people just can't seem to find issues with it. I do recognize that my older style was more about jokes, analogies, and memes for comedic effect, which did muddy a few lore points. I also recognize and have recognized many times that I haven't always been 100% accurate. I mean, I literally have dedicated videos discussing it and how I was making sure I was improving my methods of information to ensure better lore accuracy. I even made videos attempting to undo some lore damage from memes. It's the same with Reddit. People will cry and rage about videos I've made, but then only cite ones posted like 4 or 5 years ago. Personally, when I want to judge someone, I judge them on how they are today. Digging into half a decade ago is the biggest clutch at straws and just feeds into cancel culture, which a lot of these types of guys also complain about all the time. Word of the day, hypocrite. Pontius then goes on to discuss two things in his classic misconstrued style.
So, the guy is a serial backstabber that has backstabbed 2 of his own friends without remorse.
Firstly, he talks about me backstabbing Weshammer without remorse and how I shilled peptides. Now, he has made a big point about the no remorse thing, but both of these incidences I have publicly taken accountability for. The peptide thing got its own video where I responded to Morty and Glory, and this is actually what he said about my response.
And I think Majorkill did a very, very good job of going, look, I definitely shouldn't have used those things side by side in the video. There's definitely a bit of muddying of the waters. And I think it's just a very good job, taking accountability of that and also clarifying the position.
I also take accountability with the Wes thing. I spoke to Wes privately and I did a public post about it. I don't know what else you want from me. The idea that someone has to be totally infallible and make 0 mistakes is insane. If you want someone to be held accountable for something they did that you disagree with, and then they are held accountable, if you then don't move on, then you never wanted accountability to begin with. You wanted punishment and cancellation, making you a pretty sad, bitter person, especially in the context of Warhammer lore on YouTube. Like, this isn't life or death, guys. This is a hobby about super soldiers killing aliens and shit. If you're as angry as Pontius, especially over things that aren't true or misrepresented or things that happened 4 years ago, then you have some serious unresolved issues.
He's not funny. If anything, he's the worst kind of comedian. An unfunny one.
Pontius makes a point that I am unfunny, and look, you don't have to find me funny. My sense of humor is not universal. However, some people do find me funny, close to 700,000 or so it just makes Pontius come across as an extremely bitter, jealous person. Now, this next one did actually make me laugh, and of course it was another lie based on a huge stretch of an assumption.
But I have the suspicion that for the entirety of the video, he was cheating the answers to the lore questions that were being asked. He kept looking every time the camera was on him in the same exact spot, as if he was reading the answers because Voldemort was on speaker. We have no guarantee that Majorkill was alone, so it is my suspicion that in that video he was cheating during a lore contest. A guy that considers himself a lore expert. Do you want to see how much this guy sucks at the lore?
He said that during my quiz battle against Weshammer hosted by Voldemort to ensure legitimacy, I cheated because I kept looking at the same spot, like I had some kind of mega Warhammer nerd rapidly typing out the answers to the questions so I could cheat in a low stakes charity Warhammer trivia game. My lord, just saying that out loud. I hope you guys can see how pathetic this is. Maybe Pontius isn't used to interacting with humans in person or something, but it's universally known that when people have to think about things, they often look in specific directions, depending on the cerebral process involved. Some people look up, some people look down, some look left, some look right. I was answering complex niche Warhammer 40k questions and I had to rack my brain. I also ended up losing the trivia match, so it's just straight up the most retarded point Pontius has ever made. Like, the rest of his arguments are bad faith, but this one was just sad. Now for his apparent silver bullet moment, getting the female custodian lore wrong.
The video is called Female Custodians Are Now 100% Canon. What does this mean for Warhammer 40k? He specifically goes over, during the video, the story of the first of the 3 custodians mentioned in the codex. Majorkill, in his explanation, gets the ending of it completely fucking wrong. It is bewildering that for a 20 minutes video, a lore YouTuber didn't bother to read the 2 fucking pages of lore.
In my video discussing GW unveiling female custodies, I highlighted on a leaked short story about a female custodian who tried to win a blood game by teleporting a nuke into the Imperial Palace. When I discussed it, I was reading about a leak from an unreleased custodian codex and only had 1 page. I got the end of the short story slightly wrong as it was on the next page that I didn't have, and someone else told me the ending but they were slightly off.
No, wait. You are showing the lore on screen. Did he just fucking fuck up retelling the lore that is on screen? Let's see.
He had it in front of him.
Basically, I said that the person who reported the custodian to the palace was punished. In actuality, it was the captain who was following the custodian's orders. Pontius uses this as some sort of glorious aha, see moment, but if you actually take a step back and look at it, what a fucking loser. He said that the lore was right in front of me on my video. He was wrong. I was referencing the 1 page I had that was leaked that didn't have that piece of the story on it, but we're used to that by now. Sure, I'll admit it. I got 2 unimportant characters mixed up on a leaked page of a codex which didn't actually show the end of the story I was referencing. My bad, guys. Guess you got me. I know nothing about Warhammer lore.
We have an unfunny and generally completely morally bankrupt person trying to be a lore YouTuber, while making minor and major mistakes in every single video of lore he ever made. Why the fuck are people even following this guy?
Tasteful as always, Pontius then wraps it up saying I have no commitment to the lore. Let's just see how little commitment I have. I've read the entire Horus Heresy, including the Siege of Terror and all short stories. I've read the entirety of the Caiaphas Cain series, the entire Night Lords trilogy, the entire Inquisition series, including Ravenor and Bequin. I've also read a number of other non-series novels, such as Valdor Birth of the Imperium, The Infinite and the Divine, Lion Son of the Forest, multiple Primarch books, among others, and I'm currently working through Dark Imperium to brush up on my modern day lore. That is almost 100 full-length 40k novels. I've also painted Eldar, Custodes, Orcs, and I'm working on a Night Lords kill team. I'd say that puts me in the top 0.01%, if not higher, of Warhammer lore readers. I wonder if Pontius has gotten through that many. Maybe he has, but either way, saying I have no commitment to the lore is once again the most brain-dead thing I've heard today. And that's saying something, since I've heard nothing but brain-dead moments from this guy. Now the issue here isn't that Pontius doesn't like my content or finds me inaccurate or doesn't like my style or is pointing out a new problem. I'll cop that. I don't need people to like me or validate me. I actually like the fact that I'm not everyone's cup of tea. The issue is that he is a fucking liar, and everything he's discussed and gotten wrong, either through flat out lies or misrepresenting the truth, are things he could have fact checked pretty easily. The reason why he didn't is because it doesn't fit his narrative. He hates me, he wants you to hate me, it's hard to convince you to do that if all of his points are invalid or extremely overblown. This also ties in with a wider issue with these kinds of guys and the overall issue of 40k lore. As I've said many times, Warhammer 40k lore represents decades of storytelling spread across hundreds of books with many retcons and a lot of lore that is open to interpretation. GW often also makes in-lore mistakes and canon conflicts, making it even more confusing. Even AI struggles to comprehend it despite having a literal computer brain. Sometimes lore YouTubers get things wrong. The fucking hypocrite even got something wrong in his video, a mistake that is easily comparable to my mistake about who got servitorized in the female custodian segment. If he had approached this with facts, a calm tone and less personal bias, then maybe he could have made a point. But he did the opposite, and if you think his video is clever or well thought out, then I'm sorry, you two need to touch grass. I'll end on this. What is better for Warhammer and bringing people into the hobby? Lots of lore videos from lots of different lore creators with different styles that are 98 to 100% lore accurate and are easy to digest, allowing newcomers into the hobby, or a rage-fueled self-proclaimed true lore master, the dude literally calls himself that by the way, with a strong personal agenda and has zero tolerance for any mistakes, no matter how innocent or understandable. Who would you rather hang out with or talk about Warhammer with? Who is going to bring people into the hobby? I'll take this a step further. Astartes was full of lore problems before GW bought it and made it canon. The Retributors didn't exist. Those Psyker guys didn't exist. The alien orb thing didn't exist. It was full of lore problems, yet it was also considered one of the greatest pieces of Warhammer content ever made. It was universally celebrated and brought in hundreds of thousands of people into the hobby, if not millions. Pontius is a sad little man and not what we want the community to be. Even if you agree with a lot of his lore opinions, such as no female space marines, which I actually agree with, there shouldn't be female space marines, he's not the person you want to champion or to represent you. I'm only being this brutal because he's a fucking liar and I have no tolerance for that kind of shit. Hopefully he learns from this, but somehow I doubt it.